Alright, here's a plot twist among plot twists for you. Something for the ages. This game has boss battles in it, 3 of them in fact, and we are about to tackle the first. All of the boss battles get their own stages, but we'll be doing more than just the boss battle stage in this video. Contrary to any kind of interesting development, the boss battles in this game are not 20 minutes long. I'm sorry to break your hopes up. So this boss is about as simple as gimmick-driven 3D platformer bosses can get. We use Cleo's teleport ability to teleport from one platform to the other, the beetle rams its head into the platform, and we hit the beetle while it's upside down. Unfortunately, the hitbox on the teleport pad is a little big, and the button to teleport is the same as the button to attack, so that can lead to some minor frustration. Ignoring that issue, this boss fight is incredibly simple. You teleport to get out of the way, and then you attack when it lands on the platform. That's all there is to it. There's no advanced strategy here. I'm not sure if you expected there to be advanced strategy by any means. And you may think, oh cool, they made a unique character model for the boss, but kind of. Coming back to this game is always weird. The reason I've been taking such long breaks from this game is because this game isn't worth getting mad at or getting exasperated with, which is going to happen if I try and record a lot of it at once, but I mean, you see what I'm looking at here. This doesn't really feel like a finished boss battle. This feels like a demo of a boss battle. A demo for the idea of a boss battle. Certainly not something that's actually done. There are tech demos of games on Steam that feel more finished than this. But let's be generous, if you want to call it that, and take this boss battle in context with the rest of the game. In context with what the rest of the game has shown us, this boss fight is downright impressive. Because if you've just seen the rest of the game and had no idea this game had boss fights in it, you would assume the developers would have a hard time even making a boss battle work properly, right? So it's impressive for that reason.
We found a mirror piece! We found a mirror piece! Keep up! We found a mirror piece!
Alright, so we're back in the Monster High Hub, and it's time to head our way over to the second world, of which there are only 2. There are only 2 worlds in this game. Thankfully. I'm not meaning to complain about that. I'm just saying there are only 2 worlds in this game. But, just like the first one, the second one, you have no idea where he is. You just kind of have to wander around aimlessly until you find it. It's in the library for some reason. I don't know why. That doesn't make any sense in context with the film or the game. But whatever, at least I know where it is, so I don't have to wander around on screen. This is a very emotionally strange set of games to be playing together. On the one hand, there's Monster High 13 Wishes, which is frustrating and depressing. And then on the other hand, there's Ratchet & Clank Size Matters, which I like a lot and also don't like a lot in equal measure, so I flip back and forth like a whiplash when I'm playing that. And then there's Sneak King, which I like a lot, but is hardly intense emotionally. So recording all these games together is a little weird. But I am slightly more optimistic toward this game again. More optimistic than it deserves, maybe, but the important thing is that there are new things to talk about. We are done with deserts, for example. There is no more sand to worry about. We're all done with sand, at least outdoor sand. We're finished with that. We're moving on to World 2, which takes place inside the palace. And we're going to see the world's largest dressing room ever. But hey, at least it's a nice change of scenery. We're going to get new textures and new environments, and it's going to stop looking so yellow and desolate and depressing. It will still be way too giant, but, you know, at least it's different looking in its sparsity. In a game like this, you really take any kind of environmental variety you can get, because there's really no satisfaction to be had in the gameplay department to keep things interesting. The enemies, I'm not sure you can really call the combat. It feels like you're flailing at air. The bosses feel completely unfinished. The platforming is way too basic, even if it does function properly. There's just nothing here to enjoy, so when you see something new, it's like a breath of fresh air. Like, look at this. New textures, new environments. Oh, by the way, Abby attacks by throwing projectiles, so that makes combat significantly easier. So there's that. Also, the plants act as bounce pads. I don't know why. I don't care why. Whatever. The music in these levels is also pretty decent. If you ever care to find the soundtrack, it is on YouTube for some reason. Apparently only some of the plants are bounce pads. I remember them all being bounce pads. But the fact that only some of them are bounce pads makes this even more confusing and conveys an even greater lack of understanding of how people play video games. Like, I'm used to games with bad conveyance that make no sense, so the plants being bounce pads, I can get over that, that's fine. Like this plant, it's a bounce pad. First time I saw that, immediately got over it. Doesn't make any sense, doesn't bother me. But the fact that only some of the plants are bounce pads, that makes things so much more confusing for normal people than already would be while they're dealing with plants that are bounce pads. It's just so unnecessary. Surely there was something better they could have used than a plant, or if they were going to use a plant, why not make all the plants bouncy? I just don't understand what happened. The pathfinding in this room is very strange. There are a lot of optional pathways you absolutely do not need to take, even if you're trying to get enough collectibles to actually beat the game. But I mean, I guess you can say they tried with this room layout, not in terms of, what's the word I'm looking, yeah, resource allocation. The resources are still spread all over the place, and this is a needlessly barren area. But you can say they at least tried with the pathfinding in this area. You know, that's more than you can say for a lot of the other levels. True, there was some okay pathfinding in that one ruins level. The one where I was talking about Ninja Bread Man. I think that was just the last video. But I think this is a bit better than that. By the way, if you fall down here, the game spawns you a checkpoint further than normal. So it will actually advance you further if you fall down here, as I'm about to demonstrate. Yep. So, you know, if you're ever speedrunning this game, just remember that falling down here intentionally makes the game go faster. Fun. I kind of feel a little weird saying the words bounce pad in reference to this game,
This make me feel like
because that reminds me of Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, and I would actually much rather be playing Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric right now. I consider Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric to be a thoroughly mediocre 3D platformer. One of the most... Hey, look, a new enemy type. These new enemy types are rotating eyeballs. How do you beat them? You hit them. What do they do? I don't know. I never gave them a chance to do whatever it is they might do, because I don't care. So yeah, there's a new enemy type. And that's kind of surprising too, right? Because we've only seen one enemy type so far. The game's really pulling out all the stops. We have bounce pads, we have new enemy types, we have boss battles now. And the platforming is getting slightly more challenging. Truly, the game is starting to open up and become something worth actually playing. I'm being sarcastic in case that's not clear. I really don't want anyone to play this. I do think it's important to point out that the game is getting marginally better, but I don't think it's worth it, and I hope you don't either. I do appreciate having projectiles to destroy the enemies with, though. That makes things so much more convenient. I think the next room in the level will actually be the room with proper resource allocation that almost looks like a room from a real level in a real video game, as opposed to whatever the rest of this has been. And I was correct. Look, guys, look. Look, this almost looks like a real room from a real video game. The resource allocation almost isn't that bad. Look. They almost spaced everything properly. If they just squeezed it in slightly further, then this would look like an actual room. They're so close. They are so close. This is the best room in the game. Also, another new enemy type. What do these ones do? They fly at you. If they touch you, they hurt you. Cool. But yeah, they introduced 2 new enemy types. We just fought a boss. The pathfinding and platforming is getting a little better. This room is easily the least awful room in the entire game. I'm not sure what happened there, but that's okay. So, you know, yeah, the game is getting better. I'm not sure if it's getting better on purpose, but I will assume it is. Because games do generally get better as they go on. You know, the first 2 times I played it almost all at once, so it was just kind of like a big irritating blur, and it stayed like relatively the same amount of boring and soulless the entire time for me. But I guess when you space it out further, and you have context and patience, this looks kind of impressive compared to the earlier levels. It's still awful, mind you, but it looks more impressive, and please don't get me stuck, but it looks more impressive and thought out than the earlier levels in the game. But this is the second and last world, so things don't really get too much more exciting from here. We're about done introducing game mechanics and enemy types. That reminds me that I've experienced Monster High 13 Wishes on the Wii 3 times, and I've only experienced Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric twice, in spite of the fact that I actually like Rise of Lyric and just find it to be mediocre instead of painfully awful. And I feel like that game has a lot more to teach people about game design than this does. It's much more important to study than this game. Not that this game isn't important to study, because this is absolutely bizarre. And I have, like I said, never seen a game with resource allocation this poor in my life. I just haven't. And, you know, there's the bizarre stuff that normal people would probably think is just absolutely wacky strange, like the bouncy plants. I got over it immediately, but, you know, when my siblings came in the room and saw me bouncing off plants, they were like, what the hell is going on here? And that is a good reaction to have, because they could have used something less weird. The thing about Sonic Boom is that almost all of its ideas are good. It's just that it doesn't explore its ideas properly, and for some reason I can't pull myself up this ledge, and that's immensely frustrating. But anyway, the thing about Sonic Boom is that almost all of its ideas are good. The energy hooks, that's not what they're called. I can't believe I forgot what they're called. Anyway, the grappling hook things you can use that feel like they're from Knuckles Chaotix, those have some really interesting platforming and combat utilities. The combat is very fluid and the hits feel nice, but the enemy types don't let you explore it very thoroughly. The platforming is by no means bad, and the endless runner segments that make up the faster speed gameplay, they're not bad either, but they're simply too chaotic for you to actually get a grasp of what's happening or feel any sense of accomplishment from them. None of Sonic Boom's ideas are really bad, it's just they could have been done a whole lot better, and because they were done the way they are, they're rather generic and mediocre. And when you combine generic and mediocre with what people consider to be obnoxious characters, your game isn't received terribly well, we'll say. But I actually like playing Rise of Lyric, and I feel like it's a pretty average 3D platformer. If it were released in the 6th generation, I feel like it would blend right in with almost every other 3D action platformer to come out at the time. Maybe it would be considered slightly better because the combat system is more fluid, and it tried to put a greater emphasis on story. But I don't really think it's that bad. As someone who's played a lot of PS2 and GameCube games, it fits right in the middle, like perfectly middle of the road. Does the combat system outstay its welcome? Oh yes, absolutely, but it's not to the degree that it would make the game unbearable to play or any such thing. If anything is going to get to you while playing Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, I think it would be the voice samples, which they've patched to be less frequent, but they're still quite obnoxious. I would really love to comment on the platforming in this room, but I just can't be bothered. I just can't be bothered. You can see all of the design for yourself. It's not worth talking about, really. The room layout is better than every other room in the game so far, but the pathfinding is pretty generic, and now we're back to wide open areas that look completely barren for no discernible reason again. Don't you love that? When it's just a big empty room with shit floating everywhere for no reason? That's my favorite thing in video games. Oh, we hit a loading zone. Is this like, I don't remember what happens next. I'm hoping there's a cutscene next and the level is over, but it seems a little too early for that. So I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that's what this is, because I would like this video to be over now. So we'll see. Come on now. Almost, yes, thank you.
You are so right. This dress does bring out my dark side. Abby, what do you think? Doesn't this dress make me look scary fabulous?
You look like Uncle Frostovich after too many bottles of yak juice.
What did you just say? I look like yak juice?
No, not yak juice. I said you look like Uncle Frostovich.
I look like what? That's it! Wait a minute! Your uncle must be one fabulous looking dude if he looks this good.
Yes, he did win Himalayan booty pageant once.
Hey, do you hear that?
What are these things? More beetles?
Smells that way. And there's a lot more of them coming. You better pull your fur back. This could get ugly.
Come on, this way.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about this this thing. It's like that underwater swimming section with Laguna, except this time we're on a magic carpet. The environment does look nice. I will give it that. Alright, the environment for this magic carpet section actually looks nice. You know, someone who understands graphic design made this part of the game. And that's all I have to say. I don't have anything else nice to say about it. It doesn't go fast enough to be thrilling. It still feels like you're snapped to a weird grid. So, I don't know. It's more that swimming section, but it looks nicer. Not sure what else to say. This game isn't so good. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but this game isn't great. It's not the best. Bringing up Sonic Boom in this video just made me kind of mad, because people actually genuinely consider that one of the worst games. And I mean, this exists. You know? When you play Sonic Boom and this, it's just like... It's like they're on different planets.